Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review? If you have never listened before, I think game reviewers nowadays get a little caught up in the 100% or near completing of a game. They forget what it's like to play it right away, right in the beginning. So I play about 5 to 10 hours with the game. Trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right away. I also don't give scores because I think video gaming, all of that, coupled with the fact that I think gaming is one of the most subjective forms of art. Instead, I'll be telling you what the game is in its overview. Then I will be listing the pros and cons in my point that I've noticed so far for me, and then I will be telling you whether I will be sticking with the game outside the purposes of this content. And I'm reviewing a fun one today, Marvel's Cosmic Invasion. Okay, so anybody who's been a long-time fan of this channel or a long-time watcher of this channel knows I'm a bit obsessed with 2D beat-em-ups. I always have been. 44 years old. I played all the Sega ones. I played the Nintendo ones. And then the genre kind of died and made me sad. And now we've seen a resurgence in the last 5 years. And it just keeps going on to the point where we're getting really interesting, cool titles that innovate the genre, the kind of stuff that my childhood self only wished for. But the question is, does this game live up to that? I mean, first of all, I'm going to say right off the bat, reviews are opinions, which is why I'm not going to call IGN reviewer Will Bargner an idiot. The same guy who reviewed both Absalom and Cosmic Invasion and give them middling scores, because it's his opinion. I'm definitely not going to call him an idiot. That being said, this is a year when Absalom came out. A game, in my opinion, that transcended the genre, that truly, truly innovated what a 2D brawler could be. And only a couple months later, we're getting Cosmic Invasion, but does it live up to that? And I don't think it does. That being said, it is an incredibly solid and fun experience. But what is Cosmic Invasion? Let's get with the start, and that is the overview. Cosmic Invasion is based off the Annihilus storyline, a big crossover comic event for Marvel Comics, in which this character, Annihilus, comes out of the negative zone with an army of bug monsters and just starts taking over planets left and right, leaving a ragtag group of heroes, some locked, some not locked, to go after him, take him on, and stop him. So this game offers an arcade mode and a campaign mode. The arcade mode is straightforward. It's just you play, you've got a number of lives, you die when you die. The campaign mode, on the other hand, much like the original Turtles, the Shredder's Revenge Turtles, is much more supposed to be kind of like an interactive map. In which you can kind of have some free choice, but they kind of tried to put the illusion of choice here. There really isn't choice. It's a linear map, even though it doesn't look that way. You fight through these guys, these levels. Some of the bosses are characters you can unlock, which adds to your 15-person roster. There are tons of heroes here. And in addition to that, the game features the tag-in, tag-out thing, where you can have up to 4 players, and each one of those players gets to pick 2 different characters that they switch back and forth between during the course of a level, which is incredibly cool for a mostly solo 2D beat 'em up player like myself, because it's often very hard for me to see all the characters. This way, I can really have some fun with interesting combos. And in addition to that, they definitely centered a lot of the mechanics and the fighting around it. There are mechanics for just having them come in and help, just having them come in and then switch off with you, or do big attacks with you and then jump out. I think this is really interesting and cool. Something that has not been done in the 2D beat-em-up genre, which we will talk about later in the pros. Other than that, there's a host of voice work, there's story behind each one. The characters never shut up, much like a good Marvel storyline involves, and they talk through the entirety of the levels as well, presenting the story as you just beat up through waves and waves of bad guys, usually level specific and appropriate bad guys. in addition to fighting through these various modes. You'll also be able to unlock character bios. You'll be able to unlock different palette swaps for your characters, as well as musical tracks to listen to, and all sorts of different extras that you can get through the Cosmic Matrix, a little dot-based thing that you slowly unlock nodes on. But yeah, it's a normal 2D brawler beat 'em up. Other than that, the level goes in probably like 1, 2, maybe 3 sections, and then you fight a boss at the end. Some of the bosses have some interesting mechanics, but other than that, it's pretty run-of-the-mill. Interestingly enough, in addition to that, though, there is a challenge system on each one of these levels. That challenge system, however, unlike previous games, is not based on anybody can do this. They're based on specific characters. Usually there's one challenge that anybody can do, then a challenge that another character needs to do, and then a challenge that another needs to do. And each level has 2 flashing characters when you're on the character select screen. Those flashing characters are the recommended characters for this level, meaning they can help you get the challenges as well as give you some extra interesting dialogue and story. And then, as with any other of these 2D brawlers that's come out, especially with Shredder's Revenge, there's tons of collectibles per level that you can unlock and grab. Not that they necessarily have any sort of effect. In addition to this, although, there is a leveling system to each one of these characters. As they do levels, whether they lose or they win, they will slowly increase their levels, giving them things like focus bumps, hit point bumps, and damage that'll help you fight through the stages later. That's basically it as far as the overview is concerned. So let's get into it. Let's get into the pros and the cons. And I like to start positive as always. So the biggest pro of this game, without a doubt, is the commitment to the characters. And like I said, I did start this review by saying, is this a transcendent game compared to Absalom? I don't necessarily think so. We'll get back to that in the stick with the game section of this review. However, there are a couple of things that this beat 'em up does do that's completely different from any other beat 'em up that I personally have played. And that is, right off the bat, one of them is character feel. The character feel is phenomenal in this. The fact that they have, I think it's like 15 characters. Obviously, some of them unlockable, and the fact that all of the ones that I've played so far have felt completely different in how they approach special attacks, how they approach normal combos, how they approach movement, and I think this is absolutely amazing. I'm just looking at like even the brawler brutes, like you would think that I was thinking there was going to be some archetypes with some similar moves. No. She-Hulk and Beta Ray Bill, even aside from the animation, function completely different on the field, even though they're both big bruiser characters. Beta Ray Bill is big power damage, but his special attack is he can throw his hammer out and it just sits there like whacking at people for a certain amount of time before recalling it. In addition to that, he has no real throw or grapple ability, whereas She-Hulk is all about grabbing and throwing. Her special ability is just a grab that allows you to grab an opponent and either slam them into the ground and hurl them, or kick them across the entire map. It's that kind of stuff that you will find through every character in this game. Just an absolute commitment to what that character does as a character and how they would fight, and it is completely different. Even characters who have similar moves shake it up in certain different ways. Like you would think Venom and Spider-Man would be very similar, but Venom actually is a hybrid between She-Hulk and Spider-Man, having the throw-grab capability, but also the web swinging. Whereas Spider-Man is all about stun-locking people with his webs and not really doing a ton of damage with his special ability. You also have some characters can block, parry attacks. Other characters can dodge those attacks, and those have different effects depending on the enemies you're blocking and the characters you're playing. the Captain America, if he blocks a projectile, it goes right back to the person who had it. Like, there are all these kind of subtle differences between these characters, and I've played all the characters so far that I've unlocked. I haven't unlocked a couple, but all the characters that I've unlocked so far, I think this is amazing. I think this is the most transcendent part of this game, is that devotion to the characters, which we continue into the next pro and kind of work it into this, which is the voice work. 2D brawlers and beat-em-ups do not always get the best voice work. Again, we have been blessed this year with 2 phenomenal beat-em-ups in both Absalom and Cosmic Invasion back to back. And both of these games have phenomenal voice work. This game is, no joke, some of the best voice work I've ever listened to, especially since the characters that they are doing, every voiceover, every voice artist captures them perfectly. Wolverine, Spider-Man, even Ghost Rider. Do some of the lines hit? No. But some of them really hit, and those lines, those moments, are absolutely the ones that make you feel like you're in a comic book, and I absolutely love that. We also go into the animation. Look, I'm going to say this. I liked Streets of Rage 4 better than Shredder's Revenge. And just like I'm talking about it now, I liked Absalom better than Cosmic Invasion. That being said, the one thing that Tribute does that cannot be touched is the sprite animation is absolutely phenomenal here. From little touches like wind blowing through hair and muscles rippling to like the way the attacks look and how each one of them, there are no standard punches, and which is funny because they all have standard punches. I think their sprite work is second to none in my opinion. And then finally, my last pro is the tag mechanics. The tag mechanics of this game is the most innovative thing, I would say. Like, the character feel, obviously, transcendent. It's one of the most unique unique divides between characters in beat-em-ups that I've played. But the tag mechanics are the innovation. There are no beat-em-ups that have done this before, just switching back and forth between characters, at least not that I remember, and certainly not that do it this well. There are so many ways to use your tag in and out person, and it makes playing solo so much more fun and interesting. Even in my perfect game Absalom, I don't love the fact that I have to play the entire run with one character, whereas with this, I got two. And you switch off characters between each level. So if you want to just play every character in the game, you can do that every different time. And I think that's really cool. You add that in with the fact that the challenges are character specific, which I'm not sure I love or hate here, but it gives you a reason to have to play those characters, to discover those characters, and to get good with those characters. And I like that. Alright, we got to do this. We got to take it negative here, okay? My biggest problem with this, and I'll go into some other smaller problems, but my biggest problem with this game is the campaigns mode limited choices. And I'm not even talking about that it's limited or linear. I don't mind limited or linear. Absalom is a roguelike, but they keep everything fresh with procedurally generated areas, different sections of the map that you can move through, and even though it is only actually 4 different biomes, just hundreds of different combinations of ways you can move through stuff. With this, it is basically a fighter, and what bothers me even more about this is they didn't just commit to it. They didn't just say it's straightforward. Instead, they tried to give you this spiderwebbing storyline thing that is the illusion of choice. There's no actual choice here. So what I mean by this is you'll start at one level, and you can play that level, and then that level branches to, let's say, 2 different spots, right? And you can pick between those 2. But to get to the one after that, you have to play through both of those 2. That's incredibly fun. What are we even doing here? So, like, you're only deciding between which level to play next, like 2 and 3. And even more so when you actually get into the levels, it's very clear which one they wanted you to go to first and which one they didn't. if you're going to make a linear game, I mean, Turtles had an interactive map, and it was straightforward. 1 through, I think, 16, 17, something like that, and you just moved through the map, and then you could move back and whatever. Cool. Just do that. Don't give me the illusion that I have some sort of choice. But even more so, would it have really killed us to get some more choice in this game, to decide to go which levels that we wanted to do first? I think that would have been a little bit more innovative than what we got, which is kind of the illusion of choice here, and it kind of bugs me a little bit. Alright, let's get into some smaller points that I don't love. One thing is the throw mechanics. Okay, so this is a thing that has bugged me about beat-em-ups for a long time. And this might just be a genre thing, but this game works so heavily on it that I have to call it out. And that is throw mechanics. So in a beat 'em up, there's a lot of different ways throw mechanics happen, but usually when you're fighting a boss, you can't throw them. There's usually some reason that you can't throw them. Most of the time, like Streets of Rage, it's because you can't get close to them. They're always just whipping attacks around. And a lot of throw mechanics in beat 'em ups are like instigated by moving into the sprites together instead of actually pressing a button. This game makes it specific to characters that they throw characters. Like, I press a button on She-Hulk, she reaches out and grabs somebody, and then you can throw them. I would say half of her moves, half of the more powerful things that make her her, are those throws. What I don't like then is we have a bunch of bosses. Not all of them. There's Master Mold. He's too big to throw. I get it. But most of the bosses are just villains that are villain-sized, and I can't grab and throw them. If I grab them with a grab attack, there's a little shake animation, and then I just lose the grab. I understand that you don't want to stun lock a villain with a throw, and I definitely found a couple of stun locky cheap things with She-Hulk that would allow me to do that to bosses. Make it so that after 3 of those, they do like a big jump or something to the other side of the screen and get away, because that's what makes She-Hulk She-Hulk. It infuriates me when I'm going through a level, destroying everybody with her, and I get to the boss, and the reason I can't destroy the boss is because they've just said you can't do that anymore. Half of her moves you can't do anymore. I don't like that. There are more creative and interesting ways to do games and to do gaming mechanics, to restrict gaming mechanics that are powerful. Don't make an entire character around a mechanic that's not going to work in the most important time of a game. And I'm not going to lie, this is my biggest frustration with this game right now, other than the limited choice. I've already said limited choice was my biggest. I'm sorry, I'm being hyperbolic, I apologize. But this, mechanically, it's one of my biggest issues. Even more so than that, sometimes you can throw the bad guys, and sometimes you can't, and it's never obviously discussed. There's never like, this is when you can throw them, this is when you can't. Like Venom, I threw him a couple of times, got him stun locked a couple of times, and then he got away, cool, and then I just couldn't for the rest of the fight. So there's something there that's not working that drives me nuts, and that's a thing with a lot of beat 'em ups. I'm not arguing that. It's just the reason it's so jarring in this game is because the characters in this game are made to throw. There are characters made for this that just can't do what they're supposed to do because of boss mechanics. And I don't like that. Okay, time for my big stupid rant. This is my final con. And this is a personal con all the way, so don't anybody take this personal. But, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Oh, it drives me nuts. I'm a Ghost Rider fan. I'm an OG Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider fan. We never get him in video games. We could have actually had him in this one in a brawler beat 'em up, but we've got this stupid guy with a helmet with water in it. I hate the Cosmic. And he does everything the way that Ghost Rider would, which is even more annoying. I would way more prefer that Ghost Rider was in here. Just give me a skin tribute. Just give me a skin. Give me my Ghost Rider. Alright. Rant over. Let's go with whether or not I'm going to stick with it. Yes, I'm going to stick with it. Look, I want to say this. I know I've compared this a lot to Absalom. It's hard for me not. I compared Shredder's Revenge a lot to Streets of Rage 4 when it came out. I think it's very interesting that Datamu is the publisher for Guard Crush and Tribute, and somehow these game studios are always competing with each other. But that's the way it's been working. And so it's hard for me to not use Absalom as some sort of example, especially when the one biggest problem I have with this game is when I'm playing it, I'm thinking about when I'm going to play Absalom again. It gives me a taste for me playing Absalom again. And I think that, yes, it's hard to necessarily compare these games because this is supposed to be more of a traditional brawler versus Absalom, which was adding the roguelite elements. That being said, why can't we get something like that with this? Why does this have to be so traditional? And I feel like when we have seen all these amazing games come out, I think more could have been done with how you move through this game and how you play it than is here. And I think those are elements that we need to start working on in 2D brawlers. And Absalom did that. Like, it's in my soul. Like, it's my game of the year, even though it probably isn't our channels. I cannot put that out of my head. So that's my biggest thing. But I'm definitely going to stick with this. We are blessed to have two really solid, awesome beat-em-ups in the same year. And we're going to get more next year. Like, I love the genre, and I hope it continues to innovate. I would have liked a little bit more innovation, other than just tag mechanics and the character definition. I would have liked a little bit more innovation in the area of how you move through the game. But whether or not I'm going to play with it, yes, definitely. Love the game. I think it's great. It's definitely worth the price, and you should go out and pick it up if you're a brawling fan. So yeah, so did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? What did you guys think? Did I talk about Absalom too much? Probably. You guys can let me know in the comments below. You can also contact me on Discord. Link is in the description below. Influence this in all of our shows from there. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them. See you guys on the next one.